Hey guys, my name's Jason, and today I want to talk to you all about some stuff for summer camping that is going to be really important. If you've been subscribed for a while, you know that I also made a winter one, and a lot of you guys were asking for, what should I bring for the summer? So the first one you're going to want to do is to get the proper clothing. The reason I like this is it's super thin material. This one's from Eddie Bauer. I also have some from Duluth. So on the back here, they have some flaps with some netting underneath, and it really lets a lot of airflow in. Now I would choose a lighter color as well. I have a dark blue one, this one as well as a green one. But if the button-up stuff is not your style, you can get one of these, I guess they're polyester, but they're made to be cool shirts. These are probably the most comfortable. They are water wicking and they're super cool. The material on this is 43% nylon, 41% polyester, and 16% spandex. They're super stretchy. If you're not into the button-up style, then maybe a shirt like this is the way to go. I like darker colors, but if you really want to stay cool, then I would recommend going with like a blue, a light gray, or even a white. You can also get something like this in a long sleeve, which seems counterintuitive. So if you have the same skin complexion as me, very pale, then when you go out in the sun, you get burnt really easily, and that just heats you up. So having a long sleeve shirt covering yourself up, think about people out in the desert. They always cover themselves head to toe. So, same kind of principle there. So number two is going to be this rumple here. Now, this is a double person one. They also have a single person one that is a lot smaller and a little bit cheaper as well. I actually recommend this both for summer and for winter. Now in the winter, I would use this as an extra blanket to keep yourself warmer. Now, if you're doing summer, I would recommend getting the synthetic like this one. I wouldn't get a down for that. It's just going to hold in a lot of heat. But my recommendation for this would be to actually replace your sleeping bag with this. Now, I would still, just in case, bring a sleeping bag if you have one, a cheap one that's like a 45 degree or something like that, because you can layer these. But that's really just for an emergency. You can swap out your sleeping bag for this one, and you'll get a little bit of, breeze coming underneath it, because the sleeping bag is completely enclosed, so you're not going to let any air in there. With a blanket like this, you're going to be able to, stick your feet out of the bottom if it's really hot. You're going to be able to get some airflow underneath, a little bit of like ambient air coming through there. I personally like the rumple myself. You can get some other ones, just a blanket from your house if you want. But this one is really great. It's just made for camping, and it's really cool because it is made of recycled plastics, also environmentally conscious as well. So yeah, my second recommendation would be to swap your sleeping bag out for a blanket if you can. If you have a sleeping bag, you can also just unzip that completely and have it as a blanket. That way you get a little bit more air underneath. But I personally just like having a dedicated blanket. That way I can add that when it gets too cold. During the summer, I can just use it as my main sleeping cover. All right, guys, so this next one is going to be especially important if you live in an area that is prone to wildfires. Now, pretty much the whole summer, in at least most counties here where I live in Colorado, you are going to have a fire ban. I will try to put a link up here or below to a website where you can check that if you live in Colorado. If you live in any of the places for wildfires like California, Colorado, really anywhere on the west. So in the summer, I still like to have a fire. I would go with something like a propane fire pit. So this is the Ignic fire pit. Now, I did have a different fire pit before. That one was just a little bit of a mess. It had lava stones in it. It was like $50 and it sort of did the job, but it was a little bit of a mess and it just didn't fit in my stuff well. It was round, so it kind of just rolled on the floor, but this one's square, and it fits in places a little bit better. I have a review coming on this one. It will fold out, but the reason I went with this one specifically is because I used to use a lot of the little green bottles for this, and Ignic actually makes this 5-pound one. Now the 5-pound one is perfect for me. It is 5 pounds. I filled this up for $4, and so every time I need to use this, I will just fill it up. So I think the Ignic fire pit and this one are really great, but you don't have to go with Ignic. So if you have a fire in here during a fire ban, worst case scenario, if something happens, you can just cut the propane and the fire will go out. If you have a fire pit with wood, you can actually have, pieces of it come off and go somewhere. Pretty much switched to just this, except for in the winter, I will use actual logs. If you do end up looking around, I would look at the Ignik or maybe a Camp Chef or something like that. But I really, really like this. So I would personally recommend the Ignik because you get the fire pit and this. I just believe that it's actually probably the best combination out there. So the next one on my list is going to be a shower. You can just bring some kind of wipes, something like that. But the only reason I would bring those wipes is to save on water. Those big showers take up a lot of water. But the reason I went with this one is because it uses about 10 times less water than the average outdoor shower. If you're out there sweating all day in the sun, or if you go for a swim or something like that, you never really know what you get on you. So having a shower like this can really help. So the way that this one works is actually going to be a little bit different than a traditional shower. So you have this right here, you plug this in, and then you will wash yourself like this. It has a rough side as well as a softer side. You can take a full shower with this, or you can swap out the sponge and wash your dishes with it as well, and you'll control the water here. I will have a full review on this one coming up very soon, so I don't want to bore you guys too much with the details. So this one, I'll actually take 1 of these liters of boiled water and then 2 other liters of just room temperature water. So there are other brands out there. Some of them are more expensive, but all of them use a lot of water. I already need to bring a lot of water in the summer in general just because of dehydration. So I didn't want to have to bring extra water for a full-on shower. So I am going to stick with this one myself. Oh guys, I also want to mention, along with the shower, this is a really cool product I just picked up. It is the Sea to Summit. This is a towel in here. Now the reason I really like this one is because it packs down really small and it doesn't lose the thickness of a towel like some of the real small ones do. But yeah, this is the extra large, and I'll drop a link below to this one as well. So the next one is actually going to be a fridge. Now you can bring a cooler. I've done that in the past. It works okay. Water sloshing around just drives me crazy in the summer. I have mine permanently mounted in here, and it's on a slide, but you can just kind of set yours in there if you want to. So if you want to see your full review on this one, this is the RV45D from Set Power. I also have 2 other videos on the bigger one of this and another one that is a single zone. But the reason I really like this is because in the summer, in the blazing heat, it's tough to keep your food chilled. So something like this is going to actually help you to keep stuff at the actual temperature that you want it to be at. So this is going to be fridge and freezer, and you can have, ice cream, stuff like that in there. But if you really want something like very useful, you can keep like frozen meats in there, keep this really cool, and keep all your food from going bad. If you have meat and you bring it out there, which most people I know will cook steak, especially chicken, you have to keep that stuff at a certain temperature. If it's 100, 90, 80, even 70 degrees out, your cooler is going to have a much harder time than this fridge that is set to a certain temperature. I would definitely recommend you look at some sort of fridge for your setup. So I'll drop some links below to everything from the cheapest one they make all the way up to the most expensive one. And if you use the code OXFOOT, Oxfoot, then you should get about 12% off on, I believe, everything on the website. You don't have to do the fridge slide or anything like that. You can just set these in there. So don't be intimidated by this setup if you're not looking to do something like that. All right, so this next one is a lot less affecting of me. So I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains. I now live in the Colorado Rockies. The mosquitoes are not nearly as bad here as where I grew up. However, there are still mosquitoes out there. So I would definitely recommend that one, you either bring something like this if you just occasionally run into it like where I am. But if you live where mosquitoes are a pretty serious thing, then you should look into getting a thermocell. Now the one I was looking at is a thermocell, and it uses the same gas as my pocket rocket, and it just burns these little things. You set it on there, it just burns these little things. And you should get up to like 300 hours with something like this. I don't know that most people need 300 hours, so I feel kind of comfortable that I could use this to cook as well as using it to ward off any bugs and mosquitoes. So I will drop a link to a video, or I'll put it up here or something, to a guy who does a review of a thermocell. I believe it's like Backpacker or something like that. And he seems to really like it. I've read a lot of reviews online. You can use the smaller ones of these, pretty cheap. You just need to buy replacement, I think they're called mats. So if you live somewhere, especially like the South where I grew up, mosquitoes are pretty brutal. So the next ones sort of go kind of hand in hand. The first is going to be water. Now I would recommend getting a cube or something like this. This brings a lot of water. This one has seen better days, but you can just turn this nozzle and pour it out. But you can also just be lazy and buy these at like, I think this came from Walmart. Yeah, this is 3 liters here. Do pack accordingly. Just understand there is a formula for how much water you need. It is especially important in heat because you run the risk of heat stroke. You are gonna run into dehydration a lot quicker when you're out, like, you know, sitting in the direct sunlight. Be aware that you need to bring this. I would also recommend that you get something like this. This is a Hydro Flask. So every like water bottle I have this one and another one. Pretty much exclusively do Hydro Flask. It's a little bit more expensive. I think it's definitely worth it. This thing is maybe not indestructible, but pretty damn close. It's something you can kind of customize. You can get different lids for it, but I would definitely recommend that you pick up Hydro Flask, big container of water, as well as kind of a medium size. So if you've got all 3 of those, that way you've got, you know, water for sure, and it's a redundancy built into your packing. So if you forget one, at least you've got more. So I'm gonna keep this separate, but it is sort of in the same realm as that. Now, if you're really out there in the heat, you need to use some sort of electrolytes to replenish yourself. Now, I use these liquid IVs here. I get these at Costco. You can get them online. I just leave them in here at all times. I find that I really only need to use about half of this, so I can just roll it and wrap it back up. Or if you've got 2 people, you can just split one. Now, these also aren't very cheap, but I find these highly, highly necessary. I'm not really sure the exact science behind it, but electrolyte powders and electrolyte drinks in general make it so that you're able to absorb water more easily. I don't know exactly, maybe I'm wrong, but either way, this definitely does help keep you hydrated. You can go for a cheaper one, but just understand a lot of those cheaper ones have a lot of sugar and salt in them, and there's a good chance that they might even make you more thirsty than before. So that's why I trust these, because I know that these are actually backed by science. So the next one is going to be a low R value sleeping pad. This one has a 5.8, so it's going to be actually pretty middle of the road. I would recommend going a little bit lower than that. If you're looking for a summer specific one, I would recommend going with like a 4.7 or lower. Climate Static V, I think Double, has one that's like a 1.6. Now, if you only get one sleeping pad, I would actually recommend not getting a really low one, because you want something that's going to be able to do heat and cool. So if you're only going to buy one, then I would recommend looking at other ways of changing your heat setup, like the blanket or what you wear to sleep or how you ventilate your tent. Get one that's too low, then you try to use it when it's cool out. It's going to be a lot more detrimental than it being just a little bit too warm when you sleep. My sleeping pad here is a 5.8, and my sleeping pad that stays in my tent is, I believe, a 9 point something, which pretty much is a winter pad, the 9 point something up there. But I actually find that I can cool myself down perfectly fine with other methods, or I can just camp at higher elevation. So another thing you can consider is switching to hammocks. So where I grew up, it got pretty hot, so I would use the hammocks a lot, because a lot of your heat actually comes out through the bottom of this, so you actually can get really cold. Now, I've even been in some really warm temperatures and slept in this and still gotten a little bit chilly. So I actually would recommend, even if it's going to be pretty damn hot, I would recommend getting a sleeping bag and maybe even a liner for this. Even in pretty warm temperatures, it will still lose a lot of heat through there. Now, I don't really camp in these anymore. I have a rooftop tent, so I just camp in that. But I used to camp in these, and I camped in these for years, and I really liked them. It's just that I don't really need to anymore, so I use these for leisure around the campsite. They work really great for that, but they can be used for camping as well, and you can even get like mosquito nets for them, which is pretty important in the summer as well. Yeah, don't count these out. These are super cheap. I mean, I think the double nest is like 50 bucks, so you can get this, which is a high quality hammock, and it's going to be better for you than a cheap, low quality tent, in my opinion. So the last one on this list is going to be a little bit controversial for some people. It is a camping AC. Now this is the EcoFlow Wave. I've had this for a few months, but it is still on pre-order. I got this through EcoFlow as a part of this channel, and I've gotten to test it out. I really liked it. I do have a video on this one. I will put that somewhere up here. This thing works really great. This is pretty expensive. Just get that out of the way. If you are, on a pretty tight budget, then probably just go higher elevation or, work some of the other things out before you look into something like this. But if it is in your budget and you can't afford this, then I highly, highly recommend it. It's 4,000 BTUs. It'll keep you cool. So I actually tested this out in my iCamper, and I brought it from somewhere around 100 something degrees down to 60 in just a few minutes. So I got the extra battery pack as well. I personally would recommend this. If you're looking, I will put the other video up here somewhere and you can check that out. I know it's going to be a little bit controversial because some people think that you have to go in the woods and suffer, and it's just got to be live through the pain. But if it's super hot and you want to have a cool tent, then I would definitely recommend that you go with something like this. There's no need to suffer just to be a true camper or overlander. Why not be comfortable? So I would definitely recommend, if you're looking, to get something like this. So the last one I'm going to recommend is sort of a bonus. That is either a pair of Chacos or a pair of Crocs. Now, Crocs is one of those ones that a lot of people don't like. I was kind of that way for a while, but I have since completely changed course. So these Chacos are really great because they're made to hike outdoors, but I also have the all-terrain version of the Croc as well. Now I wear these things a lot. I bought these just before Expo last year, so coming up on a year, and I wear these every time I go camping. They're pretty great. I'll drop some links below if you're looking for the all-terrain. I'll also drop links to the Chacos below, and yeah, that's really more of a bonus. I think you guys would benefit from, a rugged sort of sandal or clog style shoe when you're camping or just in the outdoors in general. So obviously, guys, that's not every single thing that you should bring. This is just some things that are kind of essentials that I think that maybe people can overlook, things that are just gonna make it easier for you while you're camping. Obviously, a big one that is not on the list but is very important is to bring sunscreen. I used to be a lifeguard when I was younger, and I was just burnt to a crisp every single year. Keep your trauma kit, keep your first aid kit, burn kit, stuff like that. Be smart about it, know what you should bring, be safe. But yeah, I hope that helps you guys out for the summer camping. Appreciate you guys stopping by, checking out this video. I will see you guys in the next one.